Welcome to this edition of the Chiefs. I'm Ed Lingao. Also with us is Ana Marie Pamintuan of the Philippine Star. Ami, kamusta kayo dyan sa port area?
Ay, well, puro masama siyempre. Although bago yung main story, no, yung isang balita pa na nakakalungkot, nawalan tayo ng isang national artist, si Francis Sionin Jose. Manong Frankie, we will miss him, especially in the star he wrote for us.
Yeah. At the age of 97, a very ripe old age of 97.
Yes.
Yeah. But Ami, siguro let's begin our first guest for tonight. Ang dami natin pag-uusapan ngayon. Ang tataas ng mga kaso, ang daming mga tao nagpupunta sa butika at sa mga testing centers.
Lahat na, lahat puro pila sa lahat. Pila sa testing, pila sa hospital.
Ngayon pang panahon na nagkakahawaan, kailangan magpilahan ng mga tao. Let's begin
tonight. And it's only 21,000 kapag nagtuloy itong trend na to, baka umabot tayo na 100,000 by next week.
Do you remember before the end of the year 2021, nagulat tayo when there was a projection of 8,000 cases for January 7? Parang ang taas naman yan. Tapos 21. Okay, let's begin our first guest. Ami, sige. We begin tonight with Philippine Red Cross Chairperson Senator Richard Gordon. Sir, magandang gabi and welcome back to the Chiefs.
Hi Ed, how are you? Annie? Sorry.
Yes, sir. Sir, we should ask how you are. We understand it's a pretty busy, it's a pretty busy week and going to be busier for just about a lot of sectors involved in testing, in treatment, and so on down the line. The Red Cross, for example, kamusta yung testing centers inyo? Are you getting crowds already? Ang dami na ba tao?
Oh yeah, there's a big surge. We tested, I believe, about 12,000 today. And that represents a big chunk of the testing. The other day, we tested 33% of the testing of the entire country. And there are other testing units in the country, private, that have closed down. They're not accepting tests because they have also been affected. Na-affectuhan rin tayo sa Red Cross because we have about 124 PRC staff na tinamaan sa molecular laboratory. Yung mga nagsaswab sa amin, tinatamaan, 74 positive cases. So tinatanggal namin yon, and we're having a hard time trying to put them in isolation wards. We had isolation wards in Ateneo, and we're trying to open La Salle again, calling Brother Armin Lustro. And of course, Makati is still open for us. So nagdadagdag kami ng isolation ward. Ngayon, naghahanap kami ng mga isolation wards. And of course, nakakatakot dito, overwhelming ang ginamit na word ng WHO. Certainly, yung ating mga hospital, medyo napapalaban na rin yan. No? I hear many of our major public hospitals are affected by the fact that many of the residents, yan ang nagbe-bear ng brat ng mga may sakit ngayon, ay talagang tinatamaan, so maapektuhan. So, nadadarang yung ating healthcare system. And it's important that we realize that na dapat bawat Pilipino ay talagang alisto sa kanyang katawan at kung siya may nararamdaman at siya ay nabakunahan naman na, may lumabas na ruling ang DOH na pag nabakunahan ka at ikaw may booster, mag-isolate ka na lang sa bahay, huwag kang lalabas muna at huwag ka na manghawa unless talagang nakakaramdam ka na ng high fever o talaga masasakit na yung katawan mo, and that's the time I guess you'll have to go to the hospital. So, dapat a high degree of personal responsibility must be demanded upon our people today.
Senator, malaking role ng Philippine Red Cross sa testing, and it's very important in this surge. Do you have enough supply kung sakasakali? Sa nakikita niyo yung trend ngayon, may prospect ba na you will run out?
No naman. We're well stocked up. Inaabangan natin yung Chinese New Year, so nag-stock up kami. Pero humihingi na rin yung iba mga kasama natin sa IATF ng mga test kits at yung iba mga agencies humihingi rin sa amin, nangihiram sa amin. And we're willing to do that hanggat kaya, but we just have to really stock up on testing. And importante, we're getting already medtechs from Batangas, from Clark, and from Subic. At para makabilis kami, pinapadala namin sa Subic, sa Clark, at saka sa Batangas, hanggang sa Cebu and Negros, yung aming testing. Dahil napapadala mo lang naman doon yung samples, babalik sa amin yan in computer form.
Yung impact nung nagkakasakit yung mga personnel ninyo, ano yung impact nun sa speed ng results? Mga 1 day ba yan or 2 days?
may nakakabagal, no? Pero I would like to tell the public na according to some studies, especially in South Africa, kung saan na-discover nga itong Omicron, ang sinasabi nila, mas maganda ang talagang source ng viral infection sa laway. And we're the only doing the laway test.
Yes.
The saliva test of the Red Cross is easier, mas madaling i-collect, and requires less manpower. In fact, magamit kami ng mga motorcycle riders, nagdi-deliver sila sa mga bahay, nagpupunta sila, tinetest sila doon at binabalik sa amin yung samples. Pero gusto namin dagdagan sila sapagkat 50 lang ang kanilang natetest sa isang araw na doon sa yung totality ng test nila. Kailangan dagdagan namin yan. At kung hindi lang madadagdagan, kukuha pa kami ngayon ng mga motorcycle riders that can deliver. Pero hindi madaling gawin yan. May training pa yan. Kailangan gawin.
Well, sir, as you said nga kanina, you have sufficient test kits. Pero as per your point din kanina, baka magka-problema tayo doon sa the people manning the testing booths. Nagkakasakit sila, nagkakasakit yung mga lab technicians, and we're not yet even at the peak of the surge, if it's coming to that. So, do you see any danger of us having a problem with having enough people manning the testing centers eventually?
In the Red Cross, palagi kami naghahanda sa pinakamasama, and we hope for the best. Pero nakahanda kami dyan ngayon because ginagawa, magaling naman yung mga tauhan natin doon. Ating Secretary of Health, si Pao Obial, yung ating Secretary General, si Lisa Saballa, nangunguha na kami ng mga dating nagsaswab nung araw at nagte-test, nagte-training na kami ng mga swabbers. At of course, they will be paid, no? Pero hindi natin makukuha. We have volunteers who are going to come, but they will be paid, of course. At saka, ang kailangan natin ay madagdagan talaga yung mga teletest. Ang maganda nito, wala pa doon sa probinsya. Galing na ako sa probinsya. Hindi masyado pang marami, pero I expect na dadaan yan, pupunta yan doon at lalaki yan. No? So, again, napakahalaga, saliva test is easier to collect. PCR, it's also PCR-based. So far, we have not had any problems with it. And kailangan lang talaga mabilisan natin yung kailangan natin gawin na magawa kagad yung mga test. I don't see, of course, every time mabawasan kami, gumagalaw kami kagad na madagdagan yan. At ini-spread namin doon sa mga hindi masyadong nadadarang katulad ng Batangas, Subic at saka Clark hanggang sa Cebu. Ngayon, nagbukas na yung Cebu, tinamaan yun eh. Nasira yun sa Cebu namin na walang kuryente. Nabuksan na namin thanks to the BECO, yung Visayas Electric, yung mga Aboitiz, ginawa kagad. So nakakapag-teste kami uli doon. Sa Bacolod at saka sa Pasig, yan, dinadala namin yan.
Kung home testing, may additional cost ba yun? I'm sure our viewers would like to know.
Yung home testing sa saliva, meron silang sinisingil, pero hindi kami ang binabayaran nila. Basta ang sinisingil namin doon, 1,500 lamang. At ang kumisan, ang dinadagdag ng mga rider ay 700 to 400 pesos, depende sa layo. So, pag na-test naman, ibabalik naman kagad sa kanila yan eh. Wala kami pakialam doon sa kinikita nila doon. Basta, gusto lang namin ma-expand yung net ng testing at maraming mga rider makakapunta sa bahay ninyo at itetest. Siyempre, mag-iingat rin yung mga yan. No? Kailangan rin na naka-PPE ang mga yan at pag nag-test ng saliva, hindi sila matatamaan.
Yes,
ang
sir.
magte-test yung naka-motor, yung rider?
Yes, they were all trained.
Okay, they are trained.
Actually,
kami kukuha kung hindi
kokolekta.
trained.
I think, sir, you mean sila kokolekta ng specimens?
Right. Madali lang naman. Kasi isang bote lang yun eh.
Mahirap
Yun eh.
Mag-iipon ka ng sufficient amount of saliva di ba?
That's correct. At pag nagawa yan, makita mo, ganito lang yung nilalagyan ng saliva test. Ganyan lang kalaki, oh.
Pero
Yung vial.
ha?
Ayan, ganyan lang kalaki yung vial.
Sir, medyo malaki yun, sir.
Yeah, marami
Maliit lang yan. Ito, meron kami maliit. Nakuha ko na ito malaki.
Tapos ko ng mga 5 minutes
Lulurakan dito. Ganyan yan. Dito ka lulurak. Yan.
Okay.
Sir, if I may broaden the question a bit, mukha namang may consensus among everybody, from the mathematicians to the medical experts, na we have not seen the worst. We are still moving upwards. We are expecting the worst to hit in the next week or two. My question to you po is this, from your perspective, both as a senator and as a Red Cross chairman, do we have enough preparations already? Are we doing enough to prepare for what we all expect to be spiking in cases?
It is inevitable it's going to be bigger. And what is important is yung ating tracing. Mukhang pilay tayo sa tracing. Kailangan natin sa tracing, mag-usap ang DOH at saka Department of Health. Dahil mukhang hindi na-fund yan at meron silang you stay safe, mukhang hindi natin nakukuha ang data. So mangyayari ngayon, imbis na 37 ang malalaman natin na na-trace natin, which is the ideal, pag ikaw, halimbawa, isa kaibigan mo nagkaroon ng positive, kailangan matrace mo at least 37.
Yeah.
Kaya ngayon, bantay lang, 1:1 lang. Pupuntahan pa sa bayan, sino ang mga nakasalimuhan mo, makukunin mo. Pero kung may technology tayo, and that is available in Hong Kong, that is available everywhere, even here, kaya lang hindi nasasabi sa atin kung ano nakukuha nila. So kailangan makuha mo yung 37 na tinamaan na na-expose para mahabol mo, para magkaroon tayo ng purchase o yung hawak doon sa testing. Isa pa, pag ikaw na-expose ka sa positive, isinasuggest ko, kailangan libre na ang testing mo, babayaran dapat ng PhilHealth yun. Mahirap yung mass testing, pero pag may exposure na, dapat sagot na yan. Idadagdag yan doon sa may priority sa testing. Katulad ngayon, senior citizens, may comorbidities, yung mga ganyan, yan ang dinadagdag natin. Pero ito, pagka ikaw na-expose, dapat babayaran na kagad yan. Now, tama yung kami, binaba namin. Yung iba 4,000, kami nasa 2,800 sa PCR. We're studying now kung may bababa pa namin yan, pipilitin natin. Pero yung iba 4,000, iba 5,000. Yung saliva test, if you go and make an appointment, nasa 1,500 tayo, that is better. If you go to the motorcycle, gusto mo sa bahay ka, siyempre may bayad yon sa mga motorcycle.
Yes, sir. Sir, kausap namin kasi nung isang gabi si Mayor Magalong, yung ating contact tracing SAR. At galing na rin sa kanya mismo. Ang galing na rin sa kanya mismo, sabi niya, napuprustrate siya kasi nag-expire yung mga kontrata ng 15,000 contact tracers at baka malabas yung panibagong budget sa Pebrero pa. So in the meantime, butas tayo sa contact tracing. Yung LGUs na lang ang
ilang butas yun? Wakwak tayo doon. Wakwak tayo kung walang budget yan. I think, hindi ko lang sinasabi yan Dapat talaga, yung contact tracing, lalagyan ng budget yan para matutulungan natin ang tao. Kung wala tayong contact tracers at mamanumanuhin mo yan, yung sinasabi ko, mahirap habulin yung 1:37 dahil napakahirap, no? Siyempre, yung mga asymptomatic positive patients, kailangan makuha mo yan. At saka yung improved technology na kailangan, katulad sa Hong Kong, pag may nasabat doon, kagad, tatawagan na kagad ng Hong Kong authorities na ikaw ay pumasok sa restaurant, meron kang nakadikit doon, na meron kang positive na tinamaan doon, magpa-test ka na kagad para malaman natin kung ikaw ay meron at kung sino na ang pinuntahan mo, matitrace na kagad yan.
Pwede bang ipagpaubaya na lang sa mga local government units? I'm asking you, you being a former mayor of Olongapo, lalo na daw ngayon may mandamus ruling na mukhang ibibigay na lang yata yung problemang yan sa mga LGUs.
Well, dapat i-test, dapat matraining sila maigi. Yung zeal nila, yung talagang kusang loob at malasakit, kailangan malakas yan. Kasi kung bibigay mo nga sa kanila at tapos hindi na asikaso, mahirapan tayo. Remember, we're in a campaign period right now. Nangangampanya na lahat siya. Wala naman sinusunod doon sa campaign period So, pa-prioritize ba nila yan? You know, kailangan ang DICT, umanap talaga na magpo-provide ng technology na magagawa at ma-expose talaga kung anong situation natin. We cannot work in the dark. Kailangan alam natin kung anong problema natin.
Pero yun nga sir, going into 2 years na tayo sa pandemic, pero mukhang we're falling way behind sa contact tracing. There's something that appears to be wrong with the system itself, and it's going into the second year.
Well, lahat tayo dapat kailangan ma-realize natin, magka nagkaroon ng positive, magko-contact tracing tayo. Nagbo-monitoring ka nga, pag dumating sa airport, harangin mo, fine yun, maganda yun, hindi makakapasok yun. Ganun rin sa Hong Kong ang ginagawa sa lahat ng lugar. Pero kung ikaw may nakuha kang contact, tapos hindi mo alam kung saan siya nagpunta at sinong nalapatan niya, sakit na yan, may problema tayo. So, importante talaga test, at saka dapat talaga contact tracing. And then dapat bakuna. Talaga magbakuna tayo. I have ordered all our people on the ground na yung mga hindi nababakunahan kapain. We have 19 buses na nagbabakuna. Dinadala na nga namin sa mga baryo yung mga bakuna na bus natin. At dapat pumupunta dyan at meron tayong mga 26 bakuna centers all over the country para magpabakuna yung tao. We cannot do this alone. You cannot entrust this to government, local government, or the Red Cross. Everybody must do his part.
Yes, sir.
Senator, you just came back from the disaster areas, no? Kumusta
Yes.
yun? Kumusta situation? Are they potential hotspots for spread of Omicron as well?
Yes, definitely. I have a problem, for example, right now, pati doon sa Surigao, tinamaan yung molecular lab namin doon, kaya minamadali kong magawa kagad yun. Yung Cebu, nagawa na. Now, ang problema is maraming tao talaga exposed to the element, so mahina ang kanilang capacity to na lumabang sa disease, no? Minamadali ko na magpadala kami ng personal tents, na family tents, para hindi naman nababasa yung mga bata, yung mga tao, at hindi sila nag-uumpukan, no? But that's going to take a lot of time and we need a lot of logistics to do that. So we have a ship naglalagari sa Siargao at saka sa Surigao at kailangan doon sa mga lugar sa sa Bohol, marami naka-expose kailangan madala sila ng mga tents at minamadali namin yung mga yero. Dapat makoveran. If you ask anybody in that area, saan mo dadalhin? Nagbigay ako ng pera kahapon. Saan mo dadalhin yung pera? Sabi nila, kailangan ko magbili ng yero para matakpan ko yung bahay ko. So, that is a problem.
Okay. Well, sir, I know you're busy tonight, but if you can just please bear with us, so we need to go into a very, very quick gap so we can have a few more questions when we come back. So please stay with us, sir.
Andiyan na tayo eh. Sige, go ahead.
Okay, we will be back. Welcome back to the Chief Show on One News, and we continue our conversation with Red Cross Chairman Senator Richard Gordon. Sir, thank you for staying with us. Sir, medyo bilis ako ng kaunti. In the past few days po, we've had several policy pronouncements, particularly for the unvaccinated. For example,
Yes.
a clampdown on or more restrictions on those who refuse to or have not yet been vaccinated. Your perspective po?
Well, kailangan hanggat maaari magpa-vaccinate. Pero you cannot force people to vaccinate, no? So, dapat, the people also have the right to protect. Pag wala silang vaccination certificate, hindi sila pwedeng pumasok sa restaurant. Pwede yun, no? You wanna do that, kailangan meron kang sakripisyo ang gagawin. By the way, just to go back, but we can go back to your question, no? I just wanna say this. Nasabi natin LGU. Ang problema ko minsan, meron silang iba-ibang policy. Kailangan unified policy yan. Hindi yung iba dito sa Baguio, iba sa Olongapo, iba dito sa Manila, iba dito sa Caloocan, iba dito sa... Kailangan unified policy. There must be a summit, a quick one, where policies will be determined. Para sa ganon, iisa lang. Hindi yung, hindi, may ginawa kami sarili namin dito eh. Kami masusunod. Hindi pwede yun. Dapat talaga, para we can get the data, and when you have the data, you know what to do with it. Yun ang importante.
Sir, you're referring to contact tracing, sir? Or is that in reference to
contact tracing and lahat.
Yes, sir.
Lahat
Well, actually,
yan.
sir, we were supposed to unify the contact tracing system last year pa. And unfortunately, it never really got off the ground.
It takes a lot of political will not to be afraid of making the right decision. And that is important. At dapat the communication must be made directly to the people para yung mga local governments na iniisip yung re-election nila susunod na masunod yung national aim na gumaling tayong lahat at hindi na magkalat ito. Because tingnan nyo ang repercussions nito. Pagka marami tayong nagkakasakit, okay, hindi nga mamamatay ng ganong karami. Hindi pa natin alam kung totoo yun, no? Pero lumalabas ang datos, hindi masyadong grabe. Pero they are also debilitated. Ibig sabihin, ang productivity ng bansa maapektuhan. Hindi makakagawa tayo, hindi makaka-improve ng GDP natin yan. At saka sa productivity natin magsasuffer. at pati yung ating mga doktor, mga nurses, mga healthcare workers, mahihirapan because they will be inundated with people going to the hospital. Now, the general rule is kung ikaw na bakunahan at ikaw mayroon ng booster shot, medyo relatively safer ka. Pero still, pagka nagkaroon ka na ng medyo matindi na konti, papasok ka. So far, ang ICU natin hindi pa natatamaan ng gusto. Pero pag dumating ka doon sa ospital, yung mga residents, yung mga nurses na dadaanan mo, we go back again to the exposure of our healthcare workers to the folks that are going to go there. Siyempre, dapat pangalagaan natin. The first line of defense is defend your doctor, defend your nurses, defend your healthcare worker. Even the janitor in the hospital must be defended.
Senator, reklamo ng Department of Interior nabawasan they didn't get enough budget for contact tracing. Ano po yung comment niyo doon?
So, dapat dagdagan talaga yan. I've always been an advocate of contact tracing. That is very, very important. That's a condition na sine qua non. Hindi pwedeng gagawa ka ng trabaho na wala kang gamit. So, contact tracing must be prioritized. Maraming pera. Alam mo, narinig ko kahapon, ang gobyerno nagre-release na ng pera kada mayor doon sa disaster area. Mayroong mga 100 million. May 5 billion. Wala naman damage doon. May 5 billion doon. Aralin nila, yung hindi naman na-damage, huwag nyo nang bigyan. Hindi pwedeng civil minimum ang pag binigyan mo ito, kailangan lahat bigyan mo. Bigyan mo yung pinaka-vulnerable. Bigyan mo yung talaga nangangailangan. Huwag nyo bibigyan kagad lahat. Magagalit sa akin yung iba dyan. Pero ang importante, ang hinahabol natin, huwag magkasakit yung mga tao natin. Lahat ng pera makukuha natin, ilagay natin dyan sa contact tracing para madagdagan yung contact tracing.
Sir, I think that's interesting.
Paano kung wala na doon sa annual budget? Ano pang pwede natin gawin doon?
Well, yung Mandanas ruling,
Yes.
kailangan bupuso ang local government. Secretary Anyo can call all the local governments and talk about this, deliver the policy according to the IATF and according to the experts para sa ganun susundin yan para maayos. This is no joke. The world is seeing 2.5 million affected. 3 million tests, nagkakaroon na ng 300 million COVID cases today and deaths as 5.49 million. No? Ang France, 261,000 higher. USA, 750,000. Aabutan natin yan. Of course, ang policy sa Amerika, medyo freewheeling sila doon. We have to live with it. It has become endemic. We have to live with it. So I go back to my first statement. Everyone must protect himself and must be primarily responsible to his brother, to his family, to his co-worker, to everybody.
Sir, you said something that I think is very interesting. I'm hoping you can elaborate on it. Parang may binanggit kayo na there are areas that were not really hit or damaged by the typhoon kung saan naglabas pa ng pera for disaster. Can you talk to us about what amounts are involved here and what areas are involved here?
Well, I was in Cebu last night and I was talking to some mayors. Yung iba tinamaan, talagang dapat bigyan. Isang mayor doon, hindi ko nababanggitin, sabi niya, binibigyan niya yung mga kasama niyang mayor na tinamaan, bibigay siya ng 100,000. Sabi ko, paliwanag yun sa COA, baka makukuha kayo dyan. Pag binigyan kayo, hindi, kailangan gastusin nyo. And it starts the moment you start disbursing. Kung wala ka naman pag-disburse, wala ka mabibigyan. So dapat talaga, tignan mismo ng DBM kung sino ang bibigyan, kung sino ang talagang nangangailangan, bigyan yon. Pero kung hindi naman masyadong tinamaan, ilan lang naman yung mga tinamaan na areas na talagang severe, doon tayo magbigay.
Senator, balikan ko lang yung Red Cross testing. Merong mga reports na nahirapan daw yung iba na mag-register online for testing. Pwede ba silang walk-in? How easy is it to walk in for a test?
That's understandable na talagang overwhelmed ang lines, no? Preferably, kung malapit kayo doon, wag lang kayo magpipila doon. Ayoko magpipila dahil maawala sa mga tao. Mas maganda kung makakapunta kayo doon at makakapasok naman. So far, nagagawa pa yon. May mga walk-in. But I don't recommend it.
So pagtiyagaan yung online, you're saying?
Right. And maybe PLDT and the one can give us more lines. We have about 30 people answering calls there right now.
Kaya siya na-overwhelmed. Are you planning to add more people? You're saying 30?
Yes, that is something that we are intending to do because ang nakikita ko, lalakas talaga ito, lalaki talaga. And hindi lang naman doon sa headquarters ng Red Cross meron, sa port area meron.
Yes.
Meron tayo
Ilupa.
sa Batangas, meron tayo sa Cebu, meron tayo doon sa Pasig, sa Iloilo, at marami rin tayong testing centers, no? Meron tayo sa Surigao, gagawin natin yung kagad. Meron tayo sa Cagayan de Oro, meron tayo sa Zamboanga. So, nagkalat yan. So, dapat, yun ang puntahan natin at makakaayos tayo. At saka, use sa saliva collection. Mas maganda pa siguro yan. Dahil mas reliable pa nga ata lumalabas sa datos. I'm not saying, I'm not a scientist with respect to medical form, pero sa binabasa at saka sinasabi sa akin ng mga doktor namin na nagtrabaho sa Department of Health at saka iba nagtrabaho sa ibang mga universities natin, ang lumalabas sa datos, yung saliva, you can get more viral content na mas mabilis malaman.
Sir, balikan ko lang yung contact tracing. Now I remember, the other night, guest namin si Yusek Densing ng Interior Department. Ang sinisisi ni Yusek Densing, Senado. Ang Senado daw yung nag-chop-chop ng budget for contact tracing for 2022 to only 255 million pesos. Of course, hiwalay pa yun dun sa problema na bakit Pebrero pa ang labas ng pera when they should have foreseen the scheduling of releases. Pero yung amount daw well, according to him, yung Senado daw yung nag-chop-chop.
Kukulang yan, maraming pagkukunan ang presidente. At dapat gamitin niya doon. Laki-laki ng intelligence fund, ang laki-laki ng mga social fund, pwedeng gamitin yan. Because ito preventive measure ito. It's better to have prevention than having to fight the whole shebang in a war against COVID. And I promise you, pag nagbukas tayo, ang problema ngayon pati yung investigation sa Blue Ribbon, popostpone ko dahil sarado ang Senate, nag-lockdown ang Senate
Yeah, everybody's locked down.
So, wala kami makukuha ang mga tao na mag-stenographic notes, no? So, yan ang problema ngayon. So, I will talk to Senate President Soto and that we take a look at this and well, actually, it's already beyond the Senate. Dapat nasa Malacanang na ang decision dyan at saka ng Department of Health. Doon dapat gawin at saka sa local government, kunin yung pera doon sa Mandanas kung ilalabas na talaga yung Mandanas ruling.
Sir, sa nangyayari ngayon, may recruitment call ba kayo for more volunteers? Kasi yung iba, mga ospital, yung gobyerno, gahanap na ng more people to man the health facilities.
Yes, we are always in pursuit of volunteers. I just got a text kanina umaga. Maaga ako gumising sa Cebu. May lumapit sa akin, sir, I'd like to volunteer. Tumawag siya sa akin kagabi, pinatatawagan ko na, you can always volunteer. Lalo na yung mga medtech, you can call 143. Kung tumatawag kayo sa 1180 at hindi kayo nasasagot, call 143. We always have people there na matatawagan at sasagot yun. In fact, we're in the process of expanding yung aming mga services para mas madaling makontak para the whole country. You can call one line number and we can refer it to our chapters, our other societies. Yung 1158 po ang tatawagan, hindi 1108. Baka nadinig sa akin mali. 1158 po. At you can call also 143.
Sir, I'll go back to my earlier question. From your perspective, is there anything else that has to be done to prepare for next week? When you talk about next week, of course, we're talking about yung spiking of cases. Are you happy with the preparation so far, or is there more that should have been done way ahead of time? Is there more that we can do?
Well, again, I go back. Kung nabakunahan kayo at na-booster kayo, you're relatively better than those na hindi na-vaccinate.
Yes, sir.
So, kailangan i-vaccinate natin yung hindi na-vaccinate. Kung saan nananawagan ako, makakatulong sa inyo yan. Kung kayo ay bakunado, hindi kayo more conducive na makuha yung disease na yan. Tapos, magdadagdag tayo ng isolation facilities. Kung marami sarado ang mga eskwela, that is where we're going to have volunteers, minders. Pupunta doon yan. In fact, do you know, Anne-Marie, galing ako doon sa Siargao, ang problema doon, talagang makita mo, nagkaroon sila ng diarrhea, no? 30
Yeah.
bed lang yung hospital doon. So nagdala ako ng tent doon, 30 beds, at tuwan-tuwa sila because yung mga may diarrhea doon. Ngayon, ang Cebu humingi na sa akin ng tent. Pag bumalo dyan yung tent, ibabalik ko lang yung mga tent dati at marami kaming tent na ilalagay sa mga hospital para matulungan yan. At kung kailangan, nung mga magpapatest doon o kaya magpapavaccinate, dadagdagan natin yung mga bakuna centers. Access talaga ang kailangan ng tao para alam nila kung saan pupunta. Pero ang talaga kailangan, it must be an intelligent discussion with the people para alam nila ang gagawin nila so hindi tayo mahihirapan na tulungan sila.
Yes, sir. But sir, you've talked about what the public can do, what private organizations can do. What about government? Has government prepared enough? Has government put in place all the necessary, prerequisites to address this surge that we are all expecting this early on?
Well, I wish I can tell the government what to do because certainly marami naman nagmamalasakit sa DOH, marami naman nagmamalasakit sa mga ospital natin. And certainly, dapat from time to time, meron tayong time out, sila mag-uusap, and they are the ones who are at the forefront, and they can make the suggestions. No? Ako, nagtatawag ako ng meeting palagi, o saan tayo kulang, saan tayo magdadagdag, and that is why, as we talk, I have answers, not to all the questions, but we have anticipated that. I have 4 Ps in the Red Cross. You have to predict the situation. You have to plan for it, prepare for it, and make it happen. Practice. So, ginagawa natin yan. So, like I said, mag-i-expand tayo ng mga yung mga tatawagan. I know the government has that as well. Pero ang nakikita ko talaga, yung ating scenario for contact tracing, that will be a very, very big help. If they're not providing money, they must provide money para mas efficient yung ating contact tracing. Other countries have very good contact tracing, and yet tinatamaan sila, di lalo na tayo. In other words, we're flying blind. Hindi natin alam. Marami pa lang may mga nakakasakit doon. Hindi natin alam. Ito, na-trace itong positive. Isa-isay mo yan. Kung may contact tracing ka, alam mo na kaagad, you really have a severe problem because talabas kaagad yung mga nahawahan yan o nakahalubilo nung nagkaroon ng positive. I must emphasize that.
Yes,
we
sir.
must know what's out there. That's why we test. We must know who is positive and we must know kung sino ang tinamaan ng positive. Importante yan. Kung hindi natin alam, then we're flying blind.
Yes, sir. Well, it is one of the major pillars of the COVID-19 response. Pero yun nga, sabi ni Mayor Magalong nung isang gabi, na-frustrate daw siya sa burokrasya.
Welcome to the club. Naiiyak na ako.
Puro raw siya paalala, pero still nag-expire pa rin yung kontrata.
We just have to continue on, Benji. Alam mo, masipag si Benji. May passion rin yan, no? Pero, welcome to the club, but you cannot give up. Sometimes, nagsasalita ako sa BBC, napapayak na ako eh.
Okay.
Okay. Sir,
The way it is.
yes, sir.
That's the way it is.
Yes, sir. I understand, sir. Well, sir, good luck sa atin next week. Do you have any? Would you like to leave any message to the public and to our fellow Filipinos in preparation for next week? We're talking like it's talagang inevitable, but I suppose it is. What message would you like to leave?
I'd like to say, without being an alarmist, lalaki yan. Nakita nyo, ang bilis-bilis sa Maynila. About a week and a half ago, konpante tayo, okay tayo, no? Kaya nung nakita ko yung mga dumadating na ang dami-daming grupo, nakakatakot. And if you're smart, tingnan nyo ang nangyayari sa ibang bansa. These are advanced countries, ang lalaki ng kanilang mga natatamaan. So dapat, I'm not going to say good luck. I don't believe in good luck. I believe in good skill. I believe in prayers. Nasa Diyos ang awa, nasa tao ang gawa. So kailangan talaga, again, personal responsibility. You have to really test, trace, and treat it, vaccinate. And of course, yung protocol natin, hugas ang kamay, meron ka talagang gumamit kayo ng N95, mag-double mask kayo kung kailangan, at pagka kayo masama ang katawan, isolate yourself from your loved ones. Kung may kwarto kayo, doon muna kayo, doon sa kabila, katulad dito. nagagalit sa akin si Mrs. Gordon. Galing ako sa labas. Pagpunta ko silip ko, nakamask ako. Sabi ko sa kanya, I cannot go near you. You can call me or I can knock on your door, but don't come near me. We will have to one. Don't eat together. It's another thing that we want to have to do. Because pagka kumain kayo at magkakasama kayo, pag inabas, alam mo, ang hirap gawin yan because malalapit tayo. Ako lang, kanina, kumakain kami doon, tabi-tabi kami. Pero hindi mo ma-avoid eh. So, kailangan pagkatapos doon, face mask ka agad. So, mas matibay yung face mask mo, mas may protection ka. You have to have every degree of possible protection and possible responsibility that you must exercise.
Okay, galit-galit muna. Okay, maraming salamat, Red Cross Chairman Richard Gordon and Senator Richard Gordon. Thank you for joining us tonight. Ingat po.
Thank you. I'd like to commiserate the Philippine Star. Frank Sonilose was a personal friend. Magaling yan. We lost a treasure. He was also a character. A great character na talagang magaling sa kanyang field. Mabuti. Pero nawawasan ang Philippine Star. I always read this column. Nanginginayang ako. But we have all to go. All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Ingat, sir.
God bless.
And now joining us is Professor Guido David of the Octa Research Group. Sir, magandang gabi and thank you for joining us. Welcome back to the Chiefs.
Good evening, Professor.
Hi, good evening. Dalawa lang ba kayo ngayon?
Yes, sir. Sir, kayo yung pangatlo.
Pilay kami.
Sir, I do remember just a few days after Christmas when Octa released its initial projections na baka tumama tayo ng 8,000 by January 5 or January 7. This was much earlier on eh. Parang nagulat kami lahat, parang, ganun kalaki tayo by January 7? Which is today, when we hit 20,000, 21,000. So, talagang shocker pala ang January natin. I think, sir, it's safe to assume that you are still making your projections as we go down the week. Eh. What are your latest projections for next week, given the adjustments that we've had in this week?
Yeah, Ed, we're still making projections. Kaya lang, may problema kasi tayo eh. Ang problema natin, in fact, siguro nabanggit na ni Senator Gordon yung mga iba nating challenges kasama contact tracing. Isa nating challenges yung testing natin. Kasi there are projections na abot tayo ng mga 40,000 and that's not far-fetched.
Yeah.
Kaya lang ngayon, nasa 50% na almost yung positivity rate natin, 46% sa Metro Manila. Anong ibig sabihin yan? When we exceed 50%, medyo magiging na yung testing natin eh, parang nagiging overwhelmed. I'll give you an example. Kunyari, umabot ng 100,000 yung cases natin. Sabihin lang natin, umabot ng 100,000. But we can only test 70,000 a day. So, ibig sabihin, pag na-exceed na natin yung testing capacity natin, we won't have visibility anymore. Hindi na natin alam kung ilan yung cases.
Bulag talaga tayo.
Parang pilay na talaga tayo. Kasi hindi natin alam eh. How can you know how many cases there are kung hindi na kaya ng testing mo? Mas marami na yung cases mo kaysa sa kakayanan ng testing. So that is a challenge, so yung visibility. So in fact, even as we exceed mga 50% positivity rate, medyo nagiging na yung visibility natin and nagiging kulang na kumbaga. We may not be seeing the complete picture. Of course, now, I mean, it's likely na there are more cases than being reported. Bakit? Kasi marami nakakaramdam. Just the other day na nagpunta ako sa testing center just to check and ang haba ng pila, and with 50% positivity rate. Kunyari, may 40 people nakapila sa testing, kalahati nun. May COVID, most likely.
Yeah, that's a clear way of putting it.
Yeah,
that's a very clear way of putting it.
Yeah, and if I go there and if I stay there for a long time, hindi naman siguro ako may infect, but baka mamaya dun ko pa makuha yung So sabi ko, sige, if I'm exposed, I'll just isolate myself. I'm not feeling anything naman. So parang ganun.
Saka, Professor, your projections are based on DOH numbers, di ba? Hindi siya kasama yung mga nag-antigen test sa bahay na hindi na nagre-report sa government, di ba? And I think at this point, ang dami niyan eh. Dahil nga sa hirap kumuha ng RT-PCR.
At may nabibiling may nabibiling DIY.
At this point, nakakabili pa ng antigen. Although, medyo nagkakahirapan na rin.
Nagkakahirapan na.
May black market na nga, pati yung yung mga hindi accredited ng FDA, di ba?
Right. So ganito nangyayari. This is I mean where we are being overwhelmed na hindi by dati kasi we were overwhelmed sa hospitalization eh. Maraming nagkakasakit, mataas yung hospital occupancy. Then we have to lock down kasi na-overwhelm yung doctors natin. Pero ngayon, it's a different scenario eh. Our contact tracing is getting overwhelmed. Our testing is getting overwhelmed. Dahil yun nga, sinabi ko, yung capacity. And then we have to resort to antigen testing. And then on top of that, yung data natin is getting overwhelmed because, as you said, itong mga self-administered, hindi naman sila nasasama sa data natin. So we're only estimating right now the trends. Most likely, yung actual numbers are higher. May mga iba pa na overwhelmed, like yung yung mga paracetamol natin na overwhelmed. I mean, yung mga supplies natin nagkakaubusan because of the surge. And now, it would have been more manageable kung sa NCR plus lang nangyayari. Now we're getting concerned because we're starting to see increases in cases outside Metro Manila in Visayas and Mindanao. We're seeing high reproduction numbers. Ito yung start, ito yung simulan yun eh. Mababa pa yung numbers nila, pero dahil tumatas yung reproduction number nila, there could be something brewing. Ganun din nangyari sa atin nung around, after the Christmas. Mababa yung cases natin, 400. Parang seems like no problem. Pero tumatas yung reproduction number natin. We knew that something was coming up, and it was this storm that we're seeing right now.
Yung figures nyo sa fatalities, they are also based on DOH figures. Kasi meron din possibility na ma-skew yung figures nyo kung hindi rin i-report yung mga sa bahay na lang nag-expire at ayaw nang ipaalam siguro or, hindi na nga na-testing di ba? Saka
Yes,
baka sabihin pneumonia kinamatay niyan or some other causes. Kasi sabi ng ibang doktor, Omicron daw worsens pre-existing conditions and they could actually succumb to those pre-existing conditions.
Yes, Amy. Well, unfortunately, sa ngayon, yes, we base it on DOH data. Pero as of now, of course, bago pa lang yung surge na to. It just started after Christmas. So we probably are not seeing the deaths yet. And usually, talaga, yung number of deaths is a bit understated. Because when we check the PSA data, noong March until June, what we found was the number of excess deaths is about 5 times higher. So that means that yung number of reported deaths is likely understated by up to 5 times. Ibig sabihin, yung actual number of deaths
6 times 5.
possibly could be 5 times higher. We're not saying lahat yun COVID, but ito yung excess deaths. So it could be mostly COVID or COVID-related, yung mga hindi nakapunta sa hospitals and then they just died outside. Kasi most reported deaths are from hospitals, yung mga na-hospitalized and then they died in hospitals. But what about those who died outside hospitals?
Yes, sir. Sir, we do understand your point a while ago that you have so many variables that are moving, contact tracing among them, and yung testing, and it makes it more difficult to make estimates. But by that, I suppose what you really also want to say is that if you do make estimates, it would probably be on the low side or the conservative side because we're not seeing the fuller picture. In other words, the larger picture in the sense of volume. But even with that, because you do make your estimates based on the patterns, on the patterns of growth. Given the patterns of growth in the last few days or in the last week, what are we looking at least conservatively, what are we looking at for next week?
Well, definitely, Ed. For next week, 30 to 40,000 is in play. Kaya lang, I'm more cautious in making projections after 30 to 40,000 dahil yun nga, after that point, medyo mawawala na tayo ng visibility. That's when the testing starts to become overwhelmed. But I mean, we're still holding out hope na what South Africa experienced, we might see it in NCR. Just to recap kung ano nangyari sa South Africa. They had a surge starting late November. They started from about 300 cases, parang tayo. And then by after 2 weeks, umabot na yun ng mga 20 to 25,000 cases per day. Also similar sa, para tayo din. But after the 25,000, suddenly, without nobody really understanding why, bigla nagkaroon ng sharp decrease. And they didn't even go to a very strict lockdown, but I mean, I'm not sure what interventions they have, but it suddenly decreased, and now they're on a downward trend. And of course, some people may be doubtful that baka daw kulang yung testing lala or something, but now definitely they're just back down to less than 10,000 cases on a downward trend. So we're hoping na something similar would happen. Kumaga, ano na lang yan, prayer na lang yan, dasal na lang yan, sabi nga ni Senator Gordon, pwedeng idasal. Kasi, sometimes science works, but sometimes there are things na we can't explain using science, or baka hindi pa namin alam kung ano yung reasons behind that.
Well, in the meantime, in-expand na ng gobyerno yung alert level 3 to a lot of provinces and key cities, no? And sa ngayon, anong nakikita nyo? Tama ba yon yung mga areas? Kasi ang Lapu-Lapu City nag-a-appeal na ibalik daw sila sa dating alert level. What are you seeing sa trends doon sa mga lugar na alert level 3?
Well, I didn't check kung ano yung mga list ng mga LGUs or provinces at alert level 3 now, pero
mostly, tapos Baguio, Iloilo, much of Cebu, yon, ganon.
Right, we actually released a report kanina, or at least an update ng mga alert level risk levels ng mga certain LGUs. And what we found, of course, Metro Manila and Rizal are at critical risk, sila yung pinakamataas. But we also have Bulacan, Cavite, Laguna at high risk, expected naman yan. But at the same time, Benguet is also already at high risk according to our metrics. Tapos Cebu, Iloilo, and Negros Occidental at moderate risk. Pero moderate risk sila, pero we're seeing a high reproduction number already. So ito yung mga nagsisimula na yung nagbubrew na. I mean, maybe it's good to be proactive, kasi if we wait, nakita natin nangyari sa Metro Manila. I mean, we might have acted earlier, pero ito andito na, it's now full blown. We're getting possibly, I don't know what's the number today sa Metro Manila, but I would guess 14 to 15,000 cases, easily breaking the Delta records, and again, possibly underestimated or understated pa itong numbers.
Mm-hmm. Sir, yung sinabi nyo kaninang 30 to 40,000 na number is still at play by next week. Is that on the high side or on the low side by next week? And
that's
yes, sir. Go
right.
ahead, sir.
Yeah, that's more of on the siguro medium side. Hindi pa yung high side. I mean, the high side is something that I don't even want to get into.
100. Kasi if it could behave by 2, it multiplies by 2. Every 2 or 3 days, nagdo-double in some countries, di ba?
Right, and that's also what we're seeing here. I mean, almost every 2 to 3 days, nagdo-double siya. So, it could get up to that. Pero generally kasi yung mga projections naman namin, we use it to guide policy, not really to alarm people, at least to advise people that there's a rapid increase in cases. 100,000 is definitely possible. Pero like I mentioned, if we reach 100,000 cases, it's no longer, we can't even count 100,000 cases because we don't have 100,000 tests. So that's above the visibility zone. So kumaga 40,000 kakayanin pa yung testing, but above that siguro hirap na.
Sir, 100,000 is possible. I mean, it's not in the realm of impossibilities.
US 1 million eh.
Yeah, so US, of course, wala silang face mask doon, or
but they have a population of how many million? 270
France,
million.
300,000.
Yeah, but yung population nila is just about mga 3 times population natin eh. Kung i-divide natin yung 1 million by 3, that's 300,000. Kung prorated sa atin yun. That's very high. I mean,
yes, sir.
But they have more healthcare capacity.
Yes, sir. That too.
Than us. And
that's a major thing.
Right, it's pa na-overwhelm sa atin, Ed, yung healthcare system natin. They're saying na hindi pa siya puno in terms of the beds, but we're probably at staffing capacity, as probably what Father Nick would say. Kasi ibig sabihin, a lot of the healthcare workers are getting COVID and out of commission sila. They're not able to work. And now that's a problem. If you try to get admitted because they don't have nurses, they don't have doctors, you might not get admitted even if they still have beds. Parang ganun.
Sir, what about positivity rates? I understand the problem with talking about new cases kasi it also depends on how many people get tested per day. Pero yung positivity rates, I suppose, is a more accurate way of looking at ilang porsyento talaga yung nagkakasakit doon sa natitesting. Now we're at 40% nationwide thereabouts. How high could it go? I know you said 50% plus beyond our beyond our visibility na yun. Pero how high could it possibly go?
Well, just to give an example, some of the smaller LGUs before na nag-surge sa kanila, I think during the Delta surge, like Palawan, they got a positivity rate in the neighborhood of 80+%. That's very high. Parang, I mean, if we get that in Metro Manila, talagang ano na tayo nun eh. I mean, but at least it happened in Palawan. I mean, we understand they don't have a lot of testing there. But if it happens in Metro Manila, you know, that if you go to a testing center, that means most people there are likely to be positive than not. So why not? No, I mean, that's why some people are saying, you know, instead of getting yourself tested, if you're feeling cold-like symptoms, just isolate yourself. Huwag mo nang hintayin yung test result, or you know, just isolate yourself.
Yeah.
Somehow we just have to, I don't know, weather this, you know, massive storm.
Yeah. You had a very good example kanina about 10 nandun. Okay, yes. About 10, kalahati halos may COVID.
Nanakot pa kayo sa testing.
Yeah, makipagsiksikan ka pa doon. Tapos may COVID, baka negative ka pala, pero dahil nagpagsiksikan ka doon.
Dahil nagpa-test ka, nag-positive ka tuloy.
So, yun na. If you're feeling symptoms, better to just isolate yourself. I think get yung bed rest and drink water, take vitamins, yung mga sinasabi lang mga, you know, may guidelines naman pinaprovide yung mga doctors how to do management at home. If you have COVID, not mild lang naman or asymptomatic. I mean, of course, asymptomatic you probably won't know, but you can still self-isolate.
Doon sa areas hit by Typhoon Odette, are you seeing any worrisome trend? Kasi sabi ni Senator Gordon, talagang sobrang problema doon ngayon by way of hygiene and everything.
It's worrisome, Ami, kasi yun nga, I mean, they're just recovering. I mean, they're just, I don't know, starting to, you know, rebuild from the recent typhoon. Tapos ngayon, they might get hit by Omicron. And that's what I was saying, na sana we were able to contain this in NCR+. Even, for example, Davao del Sur, I mean, it's still at low risk, pero the reproduction number is getting very high. So there's concern. And hindi lang Davao del Sur. We're also talking about other regions. You know, Eastern Visayas, we're starting to see increases in reproduction numbers. So this could be, I mean, parang, I feel so bad for our kababayans there. Parang magpapato yung problema natin. Just, you know, recovering from the typhoon, and then you get hit by COVID. So definitely, if they get it there, they'll just have to bear it out somehow.
You're saying you're seeing indications na it's possible na umabot doon tong surge.
We're seeing indications that it's starting there.
Starting na, oh dear.
It's starting there in some areas, in typhoon-hit areas.
Ano kaya yung areas? Palawan, have you noticed anything?
Not sure yet sa Palawan, but you know, like I mentioned, mga Eastern Visayas and parts of Mindanao. But not sure yet about itong Region 4B. Wala pa naman ako nakikita yata doon, but you know, can't say for sure. Kasi when you have very low numbers, it's very sensitive, so it's hard to determine. Pero in a bigger place like, you know, in Eastern Visayas or parts of Mindanao, we're starting to see something brewing, something starting to increase there. Definitely high reproduction numbers, medyo nakakakaba na siya, even though they still have low number of cases.
Okay. Sir, pahabol na ako. Last question lang, sir, from me. You made a good point kanina about the testing. versus the positivity rate na if we go beyond 50%, that's already beyond our visibility because it's already, I suppose, beyond our ability to test that many number of people. More or less ba, ano ba yung testing capacity natin at this point?
In the NCR, we were able to test as much as about 45,000 during the peaks of the Delta surge and the Alpha Beta surge. And just a few days ago, we actually were able to test mga 44,000. So mga ganun yung testing capacity natin. Probably if we add Calabarzon, etc., we might have mga 50,000+. Nationwide, we have about 70,000. Testing capacity. Pero again, nationwide so yeah. Some of these are in Mindanao and Cebu. Right, kalat-kalat yan. So technically, in NCR Plus, we might have a testing capacity of about 55,000. So pag nag-exceed na din yung number of cases natin sa Metro Manila, Calabarzon, and Central Luzon, we're past the visibility already. So we're in the dark. We don't know how many cases there are. We don't know the reproduction number kasi everyone who's getting tested will just be positive almost. Parang that would be scary. Pagpunta pa sa testing center and there are 50 people and they're all COVID positive. Diba? I mean,
yes, sir.
Sana there could be a way we can take census at least para we have an idea, or at least we're not completely in the dark. But part of what's also being overwhelmed, I'm sure yung mga barangay officials natin, mga local governments, they're it's a challenge for them. So we have to help them. And the way that we help them, firstly, yung minimum public health standards. Secondly, if we're feeling something, mag-self-isolate na tayo. And then get vaccinated or boosted if you have the opportunity. Especially to sa mga areas na hindi pa nagkakaroon ng increase or nagsisimula pa lang, there's still time you can get yourself vaccinated. Kasi if you're unvaccinated, the effects of the virus, most likely Omicron, will be the same as previous variants. Ibig sabihin, if you don't have the protection, the rate of mortality will be as high as dati.
Okay. Professor Guido David of the Octa Research Team. Sir, maraming salamat for joining us tonight at ingat po parati.
Thank you, Ed and Nami.
Ingat, sir. That'll be all for this edition of the Chiefs. We hope what we discussed here will keep the conversation going. Now, before we go, a reminder to our viewers, mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Ed Lingao.
I'm Ami Pamintuan, and we are One News.